This podcast is powered by The Plug. The Connect with Graffiti.
Once again, it's The Connect with Graffiti. I'm Graffiti. Back in the building, another special guest in the building with me. This one right here is special. Again, like I know this person, so it's fun. It's always fun when I know the person. But just your energy, you bring off this vibrant energy. It just feels good when you walk in the room.
Yes, that's what I want.
Yeah. I'm talking about Miss Kenya Mahogany. How you doing?
I am good, Graffiti. I'm on the Connect.
Hey.
No, I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
Word.
just it's a good day. So
Cool. Start off. How's your mental?
my mental, oof. That is a crazy question and a beautiful question all in one. I feel like when it comes to our mental, we all have some type of issue, but I feel like I'm maintaining my mental and the issues that are happening in my mental, but I'm grateful for being able to have the tools to be able to combat anything that tries to attack it. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm good.
Before I get to the next question, I just noticed something, man. So I got my little jade stone, but man, she's super stunning on me. I'm like, she got that Thanos,
Not
you know
Thanos.
what I mean? That big infinity stone. I'm like, let me step my energy up. Let me step my chi up or something.
I love yours.
That's what's up.
This is a favorite stone. I wrapped it. This is an what is it? Agate, green flower agate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really, really good energy for like chakra alignment and balance. So
Perfect. Cool. But you get it. It's synchronized energy. I'm loving it.
We in it.
For sure. For the people out there listening who don't know who you are, just give them a quick synopsis of who Kenya Mahogany is.
Absolutely. So I am a spoken word artist. I am a playwright. I'm an actress. I'm a producer, a director, musician. I do a lot of everything. I feel like my purpose on this earth is to create. So I was created by the creator to create. That's my favorite like motto to go with. But I'm someone who wants to be able to create and have a vision for the Black diaspora, to tell Black narratives. I'm a storyteller by nature. So to be able to tell stories in a way, if it's poetic, if it's theatrical, if it's, with music, it's something that I strive to do. So that is me.
Cool. So there's a lot of places I can go, but I'm going to start with this. How did you, or when did you realize you had that gift to be able to tell stories? Because I know a lot of us, even as kids, we were creative in the mind, but we start to lose that as adults in adulthood, but that stuck with you. So.
Yes. I mean, I can remember, like, growing up, right? Like, I was that kid that would be in the living room, and there would be company over, and my mom and my family, and I'd be like, Mom, I made up a new dance. Look, everybody got a song. Look, everybody. And they'd be like, oh, Kenya, she's so cute. Look at her. She's doing another routine.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that performing was something that was like a passion of mine. I love performing in front of my family. I love just doing things and creating and making up songs or making up like just creative things.
Right.
And so I found the niche of kind of honing in on that when I started to write poetry. I was actually a rapper in this rap group. I was the first lady in this rap group.
Okay.
So I did a lot of like lyrical things and just understanding that my passion for writing was beyond just that. It was more of a combination of wanting to perform. It was therapeutic. When I would get on stage, it was something that made me release anything that I was holding in. So,
Gotcha.
it was very much easy. I feel like I fell in it very much. Like this was my purpose. Like I had no other choice to do anything else.
Right. Followed your purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So spoken word. Let's talk about spoken word. Yes. So as a consumer, again, like I'm not really in the spoken word community, so just speaking as a consumer, I feel like there was a little time period where there was like this big bubble of poetry, spoken word, on stage, open mics. Like it was kind of one of them things where everybody was just kind of hopping on that train. Slowly started to publicly fizzle a little bit. I'm just curious right now in 2024, just like where spoken word as an art form in an industry is. And I know you're deeply involved, so you could definitely speak on that a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say as far as the industry, like we can talk about like a national level or a local level, right? I could speak on a local level with poetry. I feel that the pandemic kind of stunted the growth of that atmosphere of that community, just because it was a place where we all gathered and spoke on one mic, and now, people were kind of afraid to speak on the same mic because COVID was going on. But I feel like the poetry community is revving back up. I have my open mic called House of Poetry that I do every fourth Thursday of the month at Vintage Theater.
Okay.
And so we're gaining momentum with that. There's a lot of other spoken word places that are still prominent. And there's so many new, I'm a little bit older in the game when it comes to spoken word. Mm-hmm. So I would say a lot of more younger artists, spoken word artists, are coming up and they're doing their own thing in a different way. Yeah. So it does look a little differently than how we kind of formatted it back in our time, So, but there's still like Mercury Cafe, there's still Slam Nuba. So there's still these pockets of poetry venues that are still existing that have been here for years. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with you. It has kind of dissolved in a way, and it hasn't been as prominent as I would love it to be, just because of just different dynamics. So.
Yeah. So, and our culture is funny, man. I love us. But
I love us, but
there's, what I mean? And when you say like poetry or spoken word, mm-hmm. A lot of people paint a certain picture in their head, and they kind of have this like stereotypical avatar of what a poet is and how you should act. And, it's the,
Yeah.
And it's like, really, poetry is such a heavy piece of the culture. I mean, hip hop, rap,
absolutely.
R&B, this is all spoken word poetry. It's all lyricism. So what are your thoughts on that? Kind of just, people's overarching view of what poetry and spoken word is.
I feel like people underestimate poetry. I feel like they don't understand the power. Like I said, I'm a storyteller. And when you are storytelling in a poetic form, you get the attention of your audience in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you're just telling them the story. But it's a rhythm, it's a cadence, it's a way that you're able to captivate your audience in telling this story. So you can talk about any topic, and if you're able to execute it in a very much like, creative way, then you're able to reach someone and get your message across. So with that, I feel like poetry is still very much important, and I feel like people just kind of underestimate it. I had someone ask me to do a poem for their event, and I feel like anybody that says little is belittling you.
Oh, yeah.
So when they say, oh, can you come and do your little poem at our event? And I'm like, my little poem? I was like, okay, I could do some spoken word. What's your budget? Oh, we don't have it. We just want you to come. We don't have a budget for that. So they underestimate having to pay the artist, Yeah. And it's like, we are still artists. We are creating, we are writing, we are performing. To come to your event, you have to pay us.
Yeah.
So people, I feel like, underestimate poetry.
Absolutely.
Which is
man, that little, that's a pet peeve of mine. I can't stand that.
Anybody that says you got a little anything.
Mm-hmm. It's just, what are you trying to say for real?
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, like, no little nothing.
Big things over here.
So, for sure. So fast forward and just talking about storytelling and theater and stage plays. Let's talk about that and just how do you feel about your position in the world of stage play and theater right now?
Well, I mean, I started theater because like I said, I love performing, that release on stage. When I got into the theater world and tried to expand, more so into the theater world, I felt like a lot of people with Black actors in Denver, Colorado, they stereotype you and they put you in a box. So can you play the slave? Can you play the Mamie? Can you play something that is not conducive to, that stereotype of Black people? And so I was tired of that narrative. And so I was like, I'm going to take a break from being an actress, and I want to write the stories that I want to see.
Yeah.
And so with taking that on, I started writing plays and putting Black people in prominent roles that they were normalized in.
Yeah.
Not the gangster, not the drug dealer, not the stereotypes that we see every day. And so with that, I wrote Colorism, which is colorism is basically intra-racism when it comes to discrimination in your own race or your own culture. And so I felt like that was a need for my community, right? I was just like, okay, my community, we are separated by color, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this is a very disheartening thing because we are all the same people. We are just a mosaic array of people.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of build that awareness and write a very interesting play. So I wrote this monologue play called Colorism, which won an award, a Henry Award, in 2016. But this play really talks about just our community and how we discriminate and discourage our own when it comes to skin tone that we have no control over. So that was something that took off. That was my first production that I did. And then after that, my company, 5280 Artist Co-op, kind of hired me in as one of their co-partners, and I was the playwright writer. And wrote so many other, different short plays for the production too. So,
got it.
I mean, it's been great. I love it. I think I'm more so in love with writing though than acting. But
really,
yeah.
Why is that?
Because I feel like you can be the boss, right? I feel like you have the tools, like it's like a little Geppetto, You have the power to actually,
pull the
tell people what to do,
and
it's a fun thing. I love being the boss. So
cool. Let's stay on colorism for a minute. So obviously, Black woman, professional Black woman. Let's just talk about some of the obstacles and challenges you've had to face. Just based on your melanin, you know what I mean? Like you said, that intra-racism or that intracolorism where it's, light versus dark or straight hair versus natural. It's just, the challenges. Let's just speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, like I feel like it starts in your family, right? Unfortunately, like when you're growing up, like for me, I was like middle. Like I had lighter skinned cousins and I had darker skinned cousins. And with our cousins, we would all hang out and play together. And then sometimes I would hear, oh, she's a pretty dark-skinned baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like, why can't she just be a pretty baby? Oh, she's pretty for dark skin. Or the lighter-skinned cousins getting more attention, because they're lighter skin or having more credibility because of that. But it starts in the family. And unfortunately, we learned that from years of just being, enslaved in so many different ways. And so we do it to our own. Being brought up in a family who, like I said, is a mosaic of arrays of skin tones, and they discriminate you and they treat you worse because of your darker skin. And it's not just in the Black community, it's also in the Hispanic community. It's in India, it's in, the Asian community. So all of these things are happening, versus, if you have a darker skin, then, you're treated less than. So colorism was something that was a needed thing that I felt like, not just for entertainment on the play forefront, but for awareness and education.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you said in the family too, because that's something that I've never even thought about. But from a very young age, it was just so natural that it was just instilled in you on accident. Like, like you said, you'll have that cousin and you're like, hey man, that's a little black ass, a little black ass Terry, and like you just naturally just associate that and never really take into account how that might how that might make that person
mentally,
feel. Mentally,
like I think you're doing the dirty dozens, right? Oh, you so black, you can't see your teeth.
And that's naturally what you go to,
right? And this is like what, and so that's internalized. It may be fun and jokes, but that person grows up, that little kid grows up as an adult, and they start to hate themselves in a way, and they start to date other things that is not themselves, or they start like it's a
and the things that are attached to that too. So of course, like hair texture. So you're like how you said, oh, you're a pretty little dark baby, and it's like, oh, you got good hair for such a blah blah blah. And it's like, well, what is good hair?
Good hair is healthy hair, people.
Yeah,
healthy hair.
And that's something. That's something. I'm glad we're growing as a culture about that, because the whole good hair thing is like you said, good hair is healthy hair. It's not
healthy hair.
Straight perm, toxic, chemicalized hair.
Speak on it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yes.
Sorry, that's a tangent.
No. It needed to be said.
As an adult, I realized that because I was bad about that. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like your first go-to jokes is colorism when you're talking to other people of your skin, and it's like we got to get off of that. You acting light skin. It's like, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny, but you know what I mean.
I don't know if you remember, like when they had this social media, and it was like team dark skin, team light skin, and they were going back and forth. That was one of the most excruciating times. I was like, come on, y'all, this is embarrassing.
Because as a people, man, it's funny.
Yes.
I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's not funny, but it's also damaging.
Yeah,
it's also damaging. So we gotta move away from that. So what you got coming up, as far as productions, anything you're working on?
Well, right now, at the moment, I directed a play called The Nakarima Society Requests the Honor of Your Presence at Their First 100 Years. It is a long title.
Wait, that's the whole title?
That's the whole title.
Say it again.
The Nakarima Society Requests the Honor of Your Presence at the celebration of their first 100 years.
Okay.
So this play is definitely a Black history type play. It is set in the 60s, and it talks about Black debutantes. It talks about the elite Black people in that time. So it's a lot of socialism and economic status when it comes to Black people in that time. And so it's a comedy, but it kind of shows like a parody of how these Black people in this home don't care anything about what's happening outside. There's like voter registration rights with Martin Luther King. There's all this stuff happening. They're like, we don't care.
Yeah.
We're rich. We don't really care about them.
Right.
But it's really funny. I think that these stories that I like to tell, not to tell personally, but as director, you're envisioning the story and you're creating the story to amplify what the play is already. It talks about just the joy of Black people.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because I'm tired of trauma porn. That's what I call it. Trauma porn, where we only talk about our Black history in a very struggly trauma way.
Yeah. Slavery, oppression.
It's the same routine. And I'm so tired of it.
It gets exhausting.
I just want to celebrate. I want to be happy. I want to normalize these stories so that you can see we have joy too. And these times we have joy, even though there's turmoil going all around us. We still have time to love. We still have time to gossip. We still have time to laugh. Yeah. And this is normalizing people of color instead of thinking that this is the only box that they're in. So the Nakarima Society plays until March 3rd. So it was an honor to be able to direct this play of 9 different actors in this play, 8 women, 1 man. And it's been an amazing experience. So that's what's happening currently. And that's at Firehouse Theater Company, just to put it out there. Firehouse Theater Company is producing that. What I have coming up next is another theater project with Curious Theater, if anybody's familiar with that. Curious Theater does a collaboration with other theaters. So they have a theater in Boulder, a theater in Gunnison, and what they do is they do a democracy cycle where they get certain communities to talk about like voting, to talk about what they want to see in their community to change, all of these things. And we as the playwrights have to write a play out the conversations. So that's another project that I'm excited about because I feel like there's a lot of issues in our community that I want to highlight, especially this being the voting year. I think I want to talk about that as well. So that is an experience. That's the type of awareness and education that I like to bring, and that's the next project. So
love it. Fire, you working. You working. What I'm saying?
Booked and busy.
For sure. So final question, and I'm going to remix a little bit because, you are a mother. As a woman of color and being a mother and being a creative, what is one solid lesson or piece of advice that you would give your children about pursuing their dreams?
Oof. Don't listen to other people who don't have your vision or who don't think on the same, like, lines of passion as you. I feel like growing up, I had an idea of what I wanted, but there's certain people that don't see your vision, that will talk you out of your vision because they don't see your vision. So I would tell my kids and anyone growing up to be anything is to listen to your instincts and your own gut and your own internal, your own internal mind, and just know that you are doing the right thing and not to have anybody advocate for you. I think sometimes I've allowed that to happen to me where I knew what I wanted, but because somebody else didn't see, they talked me out of what I needed to do. And I look back in hindsight like, ooh, that was so wrong. That was not the right deal. So I would say that. So just go for what you know and follow your passion in your heart. So.
Got it. Listen to yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Got it. Cool. So how can people follow you, keep up with what you're doing, all that?
Yeah, so people can follow me. I have my website, kenyamahogany.com. So look that up. Kenya Mahogany 11 on IG and Kenya Mahogany Fashion on Facebook. So
love it. Love it. Always an honor.
Thank
Always
you.
an honor.
Thank you,
Miss Kenya Mahogany.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Let's connect. I'm Graffiti.